Title: The security footage they tried to erase, the Branson Motel mystery. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins that in early spring of 2018, the Branson Motel sat on the edge of Highway 76, a fading roadside stop once popular with travelers heading toward the Ozark Lakes. By then, the place was barely functioning. Paint peeled from its sign, several rooms were boarded up, and the only sound most nights was the hum of vending machines that still took quarters. At 7:42 a.m. on March 14th, police received a call from the motel's housekeeper, Linda Parson, reporting that room 19 had been left in what she described as a disturbed state. She'd entered expecting to clean up after a late checkout. Instead, she found the bed unmade, a television flickering static, and a pile of wet towels in the bathroom. The guests' belongings were still there, but the man himself, Ethan Cole, age 33, was gone. Officers from the Branson County Sheriff's Department arrived within the hour. At first, they treated it as a routine missing person case. Ethan's car was still parked outside, keys on the nightstand, and wallet untouched. Nothing suggested a break-in. But when investigators checked the motel's security room for footage, things began to shift from strange to unsettling. The night manager, a quiet man named Raymond Hill, handed over a single external drive. He said the system had glitched overnight, cameras freezing, skipping, or showing static for several hours. It happens sometimes, he said. Old wiring, old tech. But one of the detectives, Officer Janice Lowe, noticed something unusual. The timestamps on the footage jumped backward, looping over a single 2-hour period again and again, as though the system were recording the same time on repeat. At first glance, the security footage showed nothing more than empty hallways and flickering lights. But when the officers reviewed the tape frame by frame, they caught something brief, a shadow crossing in front of room 19 at exactly 3:17 a.m. It moved quickly, too fast to identify, but it wasn't Ethan. His last known movement had been 2 hours earlier, at 1:06 a.m., when he stepped outside to smoke. Detectives questioned the staff. Only 3 people were on shift that night: Hill at the desk, a part-time cleaner, and a security contractor who handled repairs remotely. None of them reported seeing Ethan leave. None heard anything unusual. Still, something about Hill's demeanor bothered investigators. He avoided eye contact, often glancing toward the monitor room as if afraid to look too long. When asked if the footage could have been edited, he denied it flatly. "No one edits those tapes," Hill said. "They record straight to the drive. Whatever's there, that's how it happened." By afternoon, the search extended beyond the motel grounds. Teams combed the nearby woods, drainage ditches, and abandoned service roads. But the deeper they looked, the more questions emerged. In one of the motel's unused rooms, room 21, officers found a second security terminal, one not listed on any inventory. It had been unplugged, cables coiled neatly beside it, but the hard drive inside was still warm. When they powered it up, the screen lit with the motel's logo, "Welcome to the Branson," followed by a folder titled simply, March 14_backup. Inside were dozens of video clips, each only a few seconds long, each showing fragments of hallways, doorways, and brief flashes of static. Some were completely black. But one, labeled CAM4_0314_0317.mp4, ran for exactly 7 seconds. In those 7 seconds, the camera showed room 19's door half open. A faint blue light flickered inside, like the glow of a television or a phone screen. Then, at the edge of the frame, a figure appeared. It didn't walk in, it seemed to fade in, as if the image had been slowly cross-faded from another scene. The timestamp glitched twice, 3 hours 17 minutes and 4 seconds, 3 hours 17 minutes and 5 seconds, then 3 hours 17 minutes and 4 seconds again, before the video cut abruptly to black. When officers replayed it, the file corrupted. The folder disappeared. Even the system logs vanished as if wiped in real time. The tech team on site assumed a malfunction. But Lowe didn't believe in coincidences, not in rooms that had hidden equipment and digital ghosts. By sunset, the Branson Motel was sealed off as a potential crime scene. Reporters had already begun gathering outside the parking lot, drawn by scanner chatter about a missing guest and damaged footage. The motel owner, Harold Finch, arrived that evening with a lawyer. He insisted the footage was private property, warning that publishing it would violate privacy laws. Investigators were ordered to make copies for evidence but return the drives immediately. When the copies were reviewed later at the station, half the files were gone. That night, one officer noted in his report that the system appeared to be self-deleting. But even that report vanished from the case file weeks later. The Branson Motel was quiet again by morning, the narrator concludes. But those who worked there said the lights in room 19 still flickered on, precisely at 3:17 a.m. every night after. By the time the Branson Motel reopened 2 weeks later, most guests had no idea a man had vanished there. Room 19 was scrubbed, repainted, and relisted online under a new number, Room 12B. But for investigators, the mystery of Ethan Cole was far from closed. Detective Janice Lowe and her partner Marcus Dyer were assigned to continue the investigation quietly. There was pressure from higher up to move on, but Lowe wasn't ready. The footage they'd seen at the motel had left her unsettled, particularly the 7-second clip that corrupted right in front of them. The audio log showed faint static, but when enhanced, a low hum emerged, rhythmic, mechanical, almost like a generator pulsing at irregular intervals. The tech division ran spectral analysis on the sound. The pattern repeated exactly every 4.3 seconds, matching the timestamp glitch seen on the camera feed. Whatever caused the distortion, it wasn't random. Lowe's gut told her someone tampered with the security system, but not in a conventional way. She tracked down the name of the company that had installed the motel's cameras back in 2012, Sightline Surveillance Solutions. The business had dissolved 3 years later, its owner listed as deceased. But the address on file still existed, a small warehouse outside Springfield, Missouri. When Lowe and Dyer arrived, the warehouse was abandoned. Inside, old circuit boards, tangled wires, and broken monitors littered the floor. But on one of the walls, a single corkboard remained, covered in dusty Polaroids, still shots from security feeds, labeled with motel names, dates, and camera numbers. The Branson Motel was listed among them. Pinned beneath its image was a printed note. None of the other motels on the board had that note. Lowe pocketed one of the Polaroids and left without saying much. Later that night, she scanned it under UV light. Faint handwriting appeared across the bottom edge. Back in Branson, Hill, the night manager, had stopped showing up for work. The motel's owner claimed he'd quit and moved out of state. But his address was still on file, so the detectives visited. The trailer was empty except for a stack of unpaid bills and a small flash drive taped under the kitchen sink. The drive contained one file. When they played it, the footage began just like the original. Hallway view, timestamp reading 3:17 a.m. But this time, the video didn't cut off after 7 seconds. It continued for nearly 4 minutes. The blue light under room 19's door brightened until it overexposed the camera's sensor, filling the entire frame with pale glare. Then, through the distortion, faint outlines appeared, objects in motion. A shadow crossed the door again, slower this time. It wasn't walking. It looked like it was swaying, almost floating, back and forth. The image pixelated, stretched, then froze completely. But the time code kept running, advancing into minutes that shouldn't exist, 3:18, 3:19, then suddenly jumping to 4:07, skipping nearly 50 minutes in a single frame. And then, for one brief instant, the light dimmed enough to show what was inside. Room 19 looked wrong. The bed was against the wrong wall. The furniture was mismatched. The clock displayed a different date, March 13th, not 14th. It was as if the room itself was looping a different night entirely. In the corner, near the reflection of the TV screen, a shape flickered, something that might have been a person, sitting motionless in the chair. But when Dyer paused the video, there was no face. Only the blur of what looked like eyes reflecting light back at the lens. "Whoever or whatever recorded this," Dyer muttered, "didn't want us to see it." When they tried to copy the file, the system crashed again. The flash drive overheated, emitting a faint whine before going completely dead. Forensic technicians later confirmed it had literally erased itself, the storage medium scorched beyond recovery. Despite the mounting technical failures, Lowe wasn't ready to stop. She contacted a retired hotel inspector who'd handled complaints about the Branson Motel years earlier. He remembered the name instantly. "Yeah," he said. "That place had a power anomaly. Whole circuit grid flickered at exactly 3:17 every night. Thought it was faulty wiring, until the new owner stopped calling." That new owner, Harold Finch, was notoriously private. When Lowe requested another interview, his lawyer responded within hours, a cease and desist letter warning against further contact and defamatory speculation. But that night, Lowe received an anonymous email from an encrypted address. No message, just one attachment, a still frame. The image was from the motel's hallway camera. The timestamp read 3:17 and 6 seconds a.m., but this version was different from the official copy. In this one, the figure's head turned toward the lens. Its outline was unmistakably human, but blurred as if caught between frames. And behind it, faintly visible through the half-open door, was another face, staring directly into the camera. When Lowe showed it to her supervisor the next morning, he looked at it for several seconds before sliding it back. "This case is closed, detective," he said. "There is no footage." That afternoon, every file associated with the Branson Motel vanished from the department's database. The case was archived as an unresolved disappearance. Officially, Ethan Cole was never found, the narrator says. Unofficially, some officers claimed the hallway cameras still ping the local grid at exactly 3:17 a.m. every night. But no one at the Branson Motel watches them anymore. By early spring, the Branson Motel had new owners, a development company from out of state that planned to renovate it into a roadside lodge experience. But long before construction began, everything connected to the old motel quietly vanished. Public records, inspection files, and even the motel's web listings were gone. To the average traveler, it was as if the Branson Motel had never existed. Detective Janice Lowe had already been reassigned. Officially, the Ethan Cole case was labeled a voluntary disappearance. But the footage still haunted her, that flicker of light under the door, the blurred reflection, the timestamp that jumped nearly an hour forward. She tried, one last time, to find a copy. She reached out to a friend in the IT division, Aaron West, who owed her a favor. He searched the department's deep archives for anything that referenced the case. What he found wasn't the footage, it was a memo. It was dated 2 days after Lowe's cease and desist letter. Per directive, purge all related digital materials to prevent public release. System flagged as contaminated source, possible data infection. Confirmed physical destruction. West didn't know what data infection meant. But the attached access log told her everything. Someone from a federal agency had remotely logged into the Branson case files the night before they disappeared. Their ID tag was redacted. That same night, Lowe got a call from a local journalist, Rachel Kearns, who was working on a piece about strange digital disappearances linked to security footage corruption. When Lowe mentioned the Branson Motel, Kearns went quiet. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "I just got an anonymous drive in the mail yesterday. It has a clip labeled BM_CAM19. Lowe met her at a diner off the interstate. Kearns brought a laptop, still sealed in an evidence bag. They played the video in silence. At first, it was identical to the earlier copy, the empty hallway, the flicker at 3:17 a.m. But then, new frames appeared, ones Lowe had never seen. The camera panned, shakily, as if someone was holding it. Room 19's door was now open. Inside, the walls were bare, and the blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat. For a fraction of a second, Ethan Cole appeared in the frame, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking directly at the camera. His expression was neutral, almost peaceful. But something about his eyes was off, unfocused, like he wasn't really seeing. The feed distorted violently, warping into static before cutting to black. Both women sat frozen. Kearns was the first to speak. "That wasn't in the official footage, was it?" Lowe shook her head. She was trembling. "No. That wasn't there before." The next morning, when Lowe tried to call her, Rachel Kearns' number was disconnected. Her office email bounced. The news outlet she worked for claimed she had taken an indefinite leave of absence. 3 days later, Lowe received a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a printed photograph, a still from the hallway camera, time-stamped 3:17 and 6 seconds a.m., the same second as before. But this time, the image was sharper. The figure in the doorway wasn't a blur anymore. It was Ethan. He was standing, facing the camera directly. The blue light reflected in his eyes. Behind him, faintly visible through the open door, was another figure, identical to him, sitting on the bed, motionless. "Two Ethans," Lowe whispered, staring at the photo. One in the doorway, one still inside. That night, she went back to the motel grounds, what was left of them. The building had been demolished, replaced with construction fencing and piles of concrete. Yet when she looked toward where room 19 once stood, she could still see a faint blue flicker, glowing from the shadows of the rubble. The next morning, Lowe didn't show up for work. Her badge was found in her car, parked along the roadside. Inside the glove compartment was a flash drive, unmarked, identical to the one from before. The clip ran for exactly 7 seconds. It showed a police office hallway, empty except for a flickering fluorescent light. In the reflection of the metal filing cabinets, a faint blue light pulsed from behind the camera. And as the video ended, a distorted voice, distant, mechanical, whispered. The case was officially closed that afternoon. Years later, online forums and dark web archives would still reference the Branson Motel, not as a haunted site, but as a digital contamination event. Some claim to have seen fragments of the footage resurface on corrupted live streams or abandoned hotel cameras. The narrator's voice fades over aerial footage of a quiet, overgrown lot where the motel once stood. No trace of the building remains today. But every night at 3:17 a.m., nearby residents still report a faint blue light flickering in the distance, just for a few seconds, before fading to black. Whether it's a residual glitch or something we were never meant to see, no one knows. But one thing is certain, the Branson Motel never stopped recording. If you thought this story was terrifying, wait until you hear what happened in the next one, subscribe before it drops.